Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is John Slump, co-founder and CEO of Atraverse Medical. Excited to share a bit more about our latest medical device company with you. Just as a brief introduction, Atraverse is led by a team with multiple prior exits in the medical device arena, ranging 140 million to 800 million plus. We are pioneering a next-generation left heart access device. Importantly, it's worth noting that there was a first mover in the space, Baylis Medical, that was acquired for $1.75 billion cash, or about a 15 times revenue multiple. And we are that's about 10-year-old technology. We're a next-generation transeptal access device, and I'm excited to share a little bit more about it with you. We've already we founded the company in July of 2022. Already have FDA clearance for an intravascular device in the blood pool. I think it's pretty remarkable. It's the fastest I've ever seen anyone get it done. We already have initial revenue, about 80% gross profit margin, and the company has raised about $16.7 million to date, predominantly from high net worth individuals and family offices. So we've got a great team. I see my prior co-founder of Farapulse, Dr. Michelson, in the crowd, and he's also a co-founder here of Atraverse, in addition to his co-founder CEO role at Field. And our third co-founder is Mr. Eric Sauter, who's actually employee number one at Farapulse. We've wrapped a really great team around us, including world-class VP Quality, VP Sales, VP Engineering, and SVP Marketing. And these are all folks with deep experience in cardiac devices and medical device R&D development and commercialization. In addition, we're very proud of the world-class advisory board that we put together. Not the least of which, of course, is the one and only Dr. Vivek Reddy and Dr. Andrea Natale. But, of course, other folks like Dr. Nair, Dr. Knight, who was actually one of the first users of the VersaCross in the U.S., and Dr. Price, Dr. Gibson, Dr. Siddiqui, and Dr. Metzel. So I would also say it's worth noting, it's easy to give bits and pieces of your company to physicians, but it's much harder to get them to invest. And the majority of folks on this slide have actually invested their hard-earned capital into the business, which we're very proud of. And so what is Atraverse? As the name implies, we're all about traversing the atrium. The standard of care today is to introduce an introducer sheath into the femoral vein, work your way up the blood pool into the chamber of the heart, and then mechanically jab your way across. As you might suspect, when you're using a 3-foot-long hypodermic needle, jabbing your way across the septum of the heart, things can go wrong. And so this is a large market, a $1 billion market opportunity, comprised of really three verticals here: atrial fibrillation ablation, structural heart procedures such as MitraClip and left atrial appendage occlusion, and also left heart access, other left heart access procedures. And it's growing very, very fast. Double-digit CAGR, about 16% compounded annual growth rate. And so, as I mentioned, when you're using a 3-foot-long spear in the heart, you can, things can go wrong. You can puncture collateral structures. You can, introduce air emboli. And, there's a well-documented history of adverse events to patients using this 1960s Brockenbrow needle, which we think is in the next 5 to 10 years will be a thing of the past, at least in the U.S. market. And so Atraverse is pioneering the hot wire system. We have a radio frequency or RF guide wire. Similar, you have the same workflow where you position adjacent to the septum, but instead of mechanically advancing your way across the septum, you just press the button, use a little blast of radio frequency energy and/or electrocautery, if you will, denature the tissue and gently advance across. And then you can introduce your therapy device over the wire and proceed to deliver your therapy. Pull out your RF guide wire and complete the procedure. Importantly, we do have a purpose-built radio frequency generator. There's a lot of secret sauce in the generator, which we'll talk a little bit more about, but suffice to say we're cleared presently on the hot wire RF guide wire, and we're expecting the FDA clearance for the generator device by the second quarter of 2025. Currently in the midst of a limited market release and scaling up to full market release on the heels of the generator approval. And so, what are the advantages of the Atraverse hot wire system? Well, first and foremost, we're universally compatible with all existing therapy sheaths. So our motto is let the physician choose. You can use whatever sheath you want to, whether it's the Agilis, the Visigo, the FeraDrive, or what have you. We have a SKU strategy for you. We feel like we win in all major categories of interest. relative to the competition. And I would say really going kind of double clicking down a bit deeper. First and foremost, we deliver what several impartial physicians have deemed a clinically significant safety advantage over the market-leading VersaCross device. Again, this is the one acquired by Boston Sci for about $1.75 billion cash. So how do we do that? Well, we have a unique electrode design for the wire that lends itself to what we call our auto-off algorithm. So when you're positioned to the septum and you cross, within 100 milliseconds, the device can detect that it's a major impedance drop and automatically shuts off to terminate the energy. While the VersaCross is a great product, it's documented in the literature that based on the pre-programmed energy duration settings, 2 or 3 seconds after it cuts, and it cuts very, very well, it can actually cut adjacent and or collateral structures. And again, this is well documented in the literature. Additionally, our device, our wire, is actually twice as rigid as a rail, which is important in the advent of increasingly large bore sheaths. It's another way of saying it's easier to advance these larger sheaths over the wire relative to the VersaCross device. Also importantly, in the U.S., intracardiac echo, or ICE, is how the physicians see where they're at and what they're doing. And our device, as the coils go all the way down to the distal tip, is much easier to see on ICE. Furthermore, I mentioned the universal sheath compatibility. Plus, since we sell the wire only and don't force you to buy a proprietary sheath, we can save you some money and reduce costs, which in the advent of value analysis committees is a very important part of the value proposition. So, to sum that up, I would say we are safer, easier to use, and more ergonomic and lower cost relative to the market-leading VersaCross. So what have we done to date? Well, the company is only 2 years old, but we've completed over 35 preclinical studies that really inform the final product design. We've already got the FDA clearance. We've actually are now in the clinic doing commercial cases. We, as of today, have completed approximately 40 clinical cases. Again, not pursuant to any protocol, just going and getting approvals at hospitals, blocking and tackling, and starting to commercialize the technology on a very limited basis with our scientific advisors. First and foremost, as you can see here, we filed multiple patents. We're working with world-class IP attorneys at Cooley, the same folks that we worked with at Farapulse, and we also have a clear freedom to operate analysis. We've raised about $17 million to date, have a world-class advisory board, and we are now generating revenues at about 80% gross profit margin. Not bad for 2 years. A little bit more about the commercial strategy. I think, the 3 R's, regulatory, reimbursement, revenue. Reimbursement is already in place. We have a Class 2 510K. We have established pricing with some early customers in the $800 to $900 range and have great margins out of the gate. As we look ahead, we're gearing up for, we've raised close to a $5 million convertible note bridge round that would convert into Series A. So seeking somewhere in the neighborhood of $10 to $15 million of new money to really finalize the development, gain the FDA clearance to the generator, but really we have funding on hand to do that. This is really, raising 6+ months ahead of our cash out date in an effort to really fund the company, staff up, and commercialize the technology. We've already got a VP of sales and now 3 clinicals, one in the Southeast, one in the Midwest, one on the West Coast, and we're going to continue to aggressively hire leading into our full market release at the Heart Rhythm Society meeting next year, which is the big cardiac electrophysiology conference where new technologies are really kind of unveiled. We've got some great investors. As I mentioned, we've funded the company with individual high net worth individuals and angel groups, as well as some family office folks, some of the who's who with U.S. angel groups across the country, East Coast, West Coast, and the Midwest. And, at the end of the day, our exit strategy is strategic acquisition. There's some great comps out there. And we feel like we're a best-in-class transeptal access device that can deliver an attractive return on investment for investors. Thank you.